This is the Coros Pace Pro. This is Coros' first foray into the world of AMOLED displays. Coros has been slowly growing in popularity as they've continued to mature their offerings, and after the Pace 3 debuted in 2023, they built up quite a buzz in the running community as a great mix of high performance and good value. In fall of 24, the Pace Pro debuted as the next step in Coros' lineup. Is this watch worth the hype? This watch has been on my wrist for the last 4 months, and well, I've got some thoughts to share. Let's go. Let's start with the build and the specs of the Coros Pace Pro. First thing we'll mention is the price. $349 gets you this watch, and that puts the watch firmly into that mid-tier price point, but it could be argued you're getting flagship level performance and features. Let's take a look. The first thing you notice when you get this watch out is that it's incredibly light. The Coros Pace Pro is definitely constructed to disappear on the wrist while you pump out mile after mile. The body and bezel are both fiber reinforced polymer and are 46mm in size. The display is 1.3 inches, AMOLED, touch enabled, gets up to an extremely bright 1500 nits peak brightness, and comes in at 416 by 416 resolution. You're getting a mineral glass display, so what you see on these close-ups here, on mine is actually a screen protector on top. I'm not going to risk scratches when a few bucks on Amazon can protect this crisp display. Oh, and I just mentioned the weight of the watch. So speaking of that, it comes in at 49 grams with the silicone band and a barely there 37 grams with the nylon band. It almost feels too light, but once you get used to it, putting on something with metal body and a metal bezel feels like you're running with a dumbbell on your arm. The strap is 22mm using a quick release attachment, so you have tons of third-party watch straps available to you. You of course have the signature digital dial, which I use as a primary means of navigating the watch. The UI is built so well to use the dial that I rarely find myself swiping on the display. The dial also has metal in it to be able to take ECG readings, although it should be noted that the Pace Pro is not a certified medical device. The battery is rated for 6 days when you have stress monitoring and always on display both on. It is rated for up to 20 days with both of those off, and I found those estimates to be pretty accurate. During activities, you could get up to 24 hours of dual band GPS with always on display on, which is pretty nutty. Oh, and speaking of battery, you charge the watch with this USB-C dongle that gets its own keychain so you don't lose it. And it can fit either way on the watch. I definitely appreciate this over having an entire another wire to keep track of. And the Pace Pro, you get 32GB of storage, which can hold maps and local music files, and you're using Bluetooth or Wi-Fi for wireless connections to the watch. Coros also talks about some of the under-the-hood improvements when it comes to the watch performance. The new processor of the Pace Pro is twice as fast as the one on the Pace 3, and certainly the UI never seems to lag or experience any hiccups during my use. In addition, the map rendering is stated to be 30 times faster than the Apex 2 Pro, and it is buttery smooth to look around on that map. So there is a lot to like about the watch itself, so let's take a look at what it's like to actually use it now. Coros aims to deliver a simple and focused training tool, and their UI reflects that. There's basically 3 main areas that you're working on within the watch. You've got your daily widgets, your toolbox, and your main menu. So scrolling up or down with the digital dial or swiping with your finger gets you to a carousel of daily widgets. This is where you're going to see your planned workouts, your health and fitness stats, weather information, notifications, and each of these can be entered for another layer of detail and more information. The next main area is when you long press the back button, which gets you to your toolbox menu. You can enter control center and settings to adjust some of the key settings of the watch. You have other watch management apps like Watch Faces. There's health and wellness apps like Wellness Check, clock related apps like your alarms and timers, and navigation related apps like maps and, well, navigation. The final main section of this watch is the main menu, which is where all of your activities are. You get there by pressing in on the digital dial. There's 24 sports activities on the watch, and you could also create custom ones in the app as well. You'll also find fitness tests in here, workouts, activity history, and you can also reach system settings here as well. Now, if you take a moment to go in the run activity, you could see some of the different options here. There's the workout of the day, which will be immediately suggested if you have one programmed there. You'll see you get the option to do a free run. You get a basic interval where you can set up the parameters for that right then and there. You get a target run with different goals, and navigation lets you use any of your preloaded routes. And you could set activity alerts for pretty much anything you'd like. You also have options for Strava segments and to have activities auto pause if you stop your run. And speaking of using the mobile app, let's take a quick look there as well, since one of the things that most Coros users gush over is the mobile app experience. It is smooth and, once again, focused in what it delivers to users. The main tab is the Progress tab, and you can see your activities, calendar, and various training data. Some health statistics like heart rate, stress, sleep, HRV, your body mass, and a muscle heat map there as well, and we'll touch on that in just a bit. Like many other aspects of the Coros experience, you can hide any of these you do not wish to see to further simplify things. Moving along, your activity tab is a list of all your activities. You can enter those and see all the different assorted metrics. The Explore tab is where you'd create routes that can be easily sent to your watch. And the Profile has a variety of settings here, including your libraries, records, gear tracking, which Coros does extremely well, by the way. You also have your watch menu here, and you can access everything from watch faces to customizing all those watch menus that we just looked through. You can add maps of certain areas. Now, there's a bit more depth, but I don't want to hit every single feature of the mobile application, make this video 30 minutes. Suffice it to say that while there is more depth, there isn't too much to the point of confusion or feeling overwhelmed. You get some straightforward performance and health-based metrics, and that's about it. And that's basically part of the charm of the Coros experience, that you aren't hit over the head with an absolute ton of data and metrics, but rather just the data that someone looking to improve their running or endurance and monitor their basic health would want to see. Let's take a look at the accuracy of the sensors in the Pace Pro now. Coros points out that they have a new satellite chipset and hardware configuration in the Pace Pro. So let's take a look at how it stacks against the competition. Okay, so the first thing we're going to take a look at here is a 12-mile run I went on, and this was using a Garmin Epix Gen 2 on one wrist and the Coros Pace Pro on the other wrist. So this is just watch versus watch. And you can see here, everything pretty much tracks. There's nothing that really sticks out as being better or worse here. Things just look pretty equal. If we kind of zoom in here, we can see, I mean, we have the same within like a beat or two the entire time. So this looks pretty good here. It looks consistent. Okay, I wanted to take a look at the GPS here. So again, we're going watch versus watch. And if we go and zoom in on some of these tracks, I mean, knowing that we have one watch on one side of my body, one watch on the other, this is about what you expect when you're doing that. Just a little bit of gap going up the road one way, back the road the other. These are all tracking pretty much right on top of each other. So again, nothing of note here, no crazy wandering, everything's matching up. And I wanted to also have these stats here down at the bottom. And you can see the heart rate is within a half beat for average heart rate. Cadence, unfortunately, did not come over from the Garmin. Speed is within a fraction of a kilometer per hour. And the distance is, again, within a few hundredths of a kilometer. So getting very consistent reading here. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a more challenging activity as I stuck the Coros Pace Pro against the Garmin Epix Gen 2 using an HRM Pro chest strap. So we're using the optical heart rate against an ECG-based heart rate. Here I did a few intervals to try and create a challenging environment. And again, as long as you're getting the same data, you expect that kind of a delay when you're dealing with a optical heart rate sensor against a ECG-based sensor. So again, here it's lagging behind, but if we're getting to the same numbers within, 10, 15 seconds afterwards, that's about what you expect. So again, look at the averages here. We have a 162.9 on the Pace Pro and a 163.5 on the Garmin HRM Pro heart rate strap. And we're talking about, so a half of a beat per minute over a 1 hour and 45-minute workout. That's pretty good. Okay, the final boss here in the sensor test. This is a strength training workout with the Coros Pace Pro representing a blue line and a Garmin HRM Pro heart strap representing a purple line. So ideally, about the best we could hope the Coros Pace Pro would do is represent the same readings on about, let's say, a 10 to 20 second delay from the HRM Pro heart strap, but strength training is notoriously difficult for a wrist-based optical heart rate sensor. So if we take a look, if we zoom in here just a little bit, you can see that the HRM Pro Plus heart strap is getting all sorts of detail that the Pace Pro is just missing out on here, right? So getting those rises and falls, and the Coros Pace Pro is just not kind of picking up on that. It does finally catch up here. It gets the drop. It's probably like in between sets, and as we get ramped up again, this is honestly about as good as you're hoping for. Something where it's about replicating it on a bit of a delay. You can see the average heart rate here. Let's go out for the whole thing. 100 beats per minute on the Coros Pace Pro and 104 for the HRM Pro Plus heart strap. It's not that big of a difference. This is over almost a 1 hour workout, but since it's missing some of those peaks where the hard work sets were happening, it affects the overall average. Is that a huge difference measuring training load and things like that? Probably not, but that's one place where the Coros Pace Pro did struggle, so I thought it's worth pointing out. Okay, so as I said before, this watch has been on my wrist for over 4 months now. It's been my primary watch. I've not just been testing it, I've been using it every single day. So that means at this point, I have some strong opinions about what I like and dislike about the watch. First of all, having the Pace Pro out on runs is an absolute joy. It is so light, it is easy to forget it's even there. It finds GPS signal quickly, connects to external sensors quickly, and I appreciate the holding of the digital dial to finish activities so you never accidentally hit it and stop a workout. And I also greatly appreciate that if you're tracking your gear, like mileage on your shoes, you get asked which shoes you're using at the end of an activity so you can log it right then and there and be done with it. I appreciate how focused the functionality of this watch really is. It isn't trying to be a smartwatch that does everything. It's a health tracking and endurance training tool that tells you your time as well. If you're a runner that wants a way to track your workouts and progress, then this should be at the top of your list of considerations. Hand in hand with the focused functionality of the watch itself is the user experience of the mobile application. It is designed well, it is laid out well, and it's a breeze to set up workouts, create routes, or look at your latest activities and glean some useful insights from them. I definitely liked using the navigation on the watch as well. While you do have to download the select areas and make routes on the phone, when you are actually using maps on the watch, it is a smooth experience and the turn-by-turn is easy to follow. Finally, I'll say that while the basic usage of the watch is extremely easy to get the hang of, there are still some advanced features like having a virtual pacer to keep you on pace during races, group tracking which keeps tabs on the whereabouts of your friends during a group activity, or the extender so that you could get a larger view of your watch screen on your phone. Okay, it's not all sunshine and butterflies. There are some things I dislike about the Pace Pro, so let's hit on that list next. The first thing I'll have to mention as someone that regularly does strength training is that the strength training app is a horrendous experience for free lifting. You cannot track your weight, the rep counting is often inaccurate, it cannot be edited after the fact. The training load formula definitely needs tweaking. The training load is laughably low for any sort of weightlifting. It is somewhat bearable if you create workouts within the app and then send them to the watch and follow them in that way, but it is a pretty big pain in the butt to do that for every single workout, and then you're on very regimented rest periods. I thought the weight training heat map was a cool feature, so I tried to track each lift with each body part, but if you're doing that in a free lift and you're supersetting different muscle groups, it is just ridiculous. You have to stop the workout, change the muscle group, do your next set, stop the workout, change the muscle group. You get the point. It's bad. So I guess there is a little bit of silver lining here. The strength training experience and most fitness watches just isn't great. If you start a free lift and set it to whole body and then just track your work periods and rest periods, or just leave it running the entire time, your life will be better. Give up on a muscle heat map, it's just not worth it. Now, I will say as a note, the official Coros account on Reddit has confirmed they are working to tweak this entire experience. Exactly what that means or when it will happen, well, who knows? But they have acknowledged it's not great and they have acknowledged they're working on it. So that's good. The next thing I'll say isn't great with the Pace Pro is the notification experience. I know I said how much I love that this is a focused training tool and not trying to be a smartwatch, but I sure wish I could at least send maybe some canned text responses when I get a text message. And overall, just the display of the font is not great when you're getting notifications. You pretty much always have to click into the notification to see the entire thing. The screen real estate just seems wasted. It's really weird. I just don't like it. Another thing I dislike about the user interface is that the watch face is not interactive, and I feel like that's a bit of a disappointment. You could really tell that Coros came from that digital dial and button interface to navigate around the watch, and the touchscreen was kind of an afterthought that's kind of just been thrown on top of that entire philosophy. Being able to touch on a complication and go directly into a widget or app is pretty standard. Now, while this next one isn't a big deal for me, I think it's a basic expectation and worth mentioning in this video. You have music controls on the watch, but it works only for locally stored MP3 files. You do not get Bluetooth control of music playing on your phone. It seems like such a standard offering at this point, I'm really surprised Coros doesn't include it. Talking about standard offerings, this watch doesn't have a screen-based flashlight. That is just turning the display to white and cranking up the brightness, so it can't technically be a difficult thing to do, so at this point I just have to assume Coros decided not to do it. I would never expect that this line would have an LCD flashlight like a Phoenix or an Instinct from Garmin, but a screen-based flashlight is pretty standard fare these days, and I definitely miss having one. Okay, so I think when you're evaluating a Coros watch, no matter which watch it is and their lineup, you kind of have to understand where they fit into the market and what their value proposition is to see if it would be a good fit for you. If you look at wearables on a spectrum, I'd put the likes of the Apple Watch and Galaxy Watch on one end with a ton of smart features to the point that they could be phone replacements if you really like, but that also comes at the cost of battery life and the developmental focus of that smartwatch being on the smart features, not on refining fitness-specific features or algorithms or anything like that. Then you can move on to the watches like, say, Huawei, which seems to do everything pretty well-rounded, pretty good. I've never used one, but they have a good reputation. Amazfit, which now we're getting to fitness-focused watches, but they still have some good smartwatch functionality like AI voice assistant on some models. Finally, on the fitness side of things, you get to Garmin, which has some smart features like a mic and a speaker on some models, or music player apps like Spotify that you can load in, but it's clearly a fitness-first watch. If anything, Garmin tries to do so much, it's almost more of a broad fitness and wellness watch with some great training features built in for endurance athletes among many other populations. And then finally, and I do mean finally, we get to Coros. They're specifically focused on being a dedicated fitness and training watch here with very limited smartwatch functionality. You don't load third-party apps, you don't load third-party watch faces, you have the Coros tailored and designed experience, and that's all. And for some, that's exactly what they're looking for. So to loop back to value proposition here, some brands go broad with features like Apple and the Apple Watch, and Coros is the complete opposite here. Coros goes narrow and deep with their focus. Coros' offering is a training tool built for endurance athletes, and you could probably even narrow that further to say built for runners. And that is precisely where they try to offer a tremendous amount of value through their features, build, and price point. So back specifically to the Pace Pro now. At the $349 price point, you're going head to head with the likes of the Suunto Race S, the Polar Vantage M3, and there really isn't a Garmin with this feature set around this price point, with the closest comparison being the much pricier Forerunner 965. So in my opinion, if you're a runner looking for a top-of-the-line performing watch, I think the Coros Pace Pro should be at the top of that list. The Pace Pro is a smooth and fast watch that offers offline maps, a top-of-the-line GPS chipset, good battery life, good sensor accuracy, and a very well-focused and polished user experience, both on the watch and the mobile application. There's a reason why I've tested many watches for this channel, but this is the first one that has taken the place of a Garmin on my wrist for the first time since I got my first Garmin nearly a decade ago. So I'm curious to hear from you in the comments. Are you a current Coros user? If so, does your experience line up with mine? If you aren't a Coros user, what would it take for you to consider the brand? Or what other questions do you have about the Pace Pro that I didn't cover in this video? Let me know in the comments and let's hash it out. Thank you so much for hanging with me today. I'm Dave, and this is Dave Does Fitness. Have an awesome day and stay fit.